Democrats are preparing their defense as Republicans now threaten to impeach President Joe Biden. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says they've gathered enough evidence to launch a formal inquiry, which he is expected to endorse later this week. However, ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, Congressman Jamie Raskin, is this GOP-led probe as a, quote, total bust. That comment was in a 14-page memo that outlines the Democrats' case to defend the president. Sources tell NBC News that Raskin has held several strategy sessions with other Democrats so far this year. Republicans claim Biden used his power as vice president to help further his son Hunter's foreign business dealings. They have yet to provide any real evidence of that. Joining us now, White House correspondent for Politico and co-author of The Playbook, our friend Eugene Daniels. Eugene, good morning. So let's start with the Democrats' defense. What more have we learned as to what they're going to say?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of what we've already heard on this air, actually. If you read through Jamie Raskin's 14-page memo, if you pay attention to this stuff, this is stuff that we've heard over and over again, that they feel like there's no evidence after investigation after investigation that House Republicans have launched, that it's a distraction from the, in their eyes, crimes of Donald Trump, and an attempt to muddy the waters for voters ahead of the 2024 election, right? This is something that they have been thinking and talking about for a very long time. Even before the midterms, you and I worked on stories about how Democrats were going to engage in this, how the White House was going to engage in this, because we knew from the very beginning if the House an impeachment inquiry and likely an impeachment vote was going to happen on Joe Biden. The time will tell if that ever actually comes to fruition. But Democrats are kind of, for the first time, if you talk to a lot of them, trying to get ahead of the ball and play offense instead of defense here.
So Congressman Matt Gaetz, who's been a critic of McCarthy, is expected to deliver a speech today in the House as they come back into session, really going after McCarthy again. Seems linked to me that McCarthy is now looking like he wants to push forth on this impeachment inquiry, in part to placate those on the far right who are mad at him for all these spending deals. So what's McCarthy's plan here, Eugene? How is he going to be able to get the votes he needs to put this forward?
Yeah, he's walking a tight line here, right? Because as folks remember, when he was eventually voted in as Speaker of the House, there's this motion to vacate. So it only takes one person to kind of get him out, try to get the ball moving to get him out of the job as House Speaker. So over and over and over again, he's had to placate folks like Matt Gaetz for the things that they want, this impeachment inquiry being one of them. At this point, it's unclear how he gets the votes. You've seen over and over moderate Republicans, folks who are on the front lines in some of these purple districts, purple states, concerned outright against doing an impeachment inquiry. And what McCarthy has also said is that he will only do this if he gets a full vote of the House, right? This is something that Nancy Pelosi didn't have to do in the past. And so whether or not he can actually get 218 votes remains to be seen. It doesn't look great at this point, but he is trying to balance all of those things. I think what he really wants to do is to give conservatives, make conservatives feel like he's hearing them and doing what they want, and that, oh no, I was just stopped by the moderates.
And Eugene, briefly give us a sense as to how the White House is going to approach the impending government shutdown. It seems like they're sort of really just putting the ball in the building behind you and saying, hey, this is on them. We're not involved. But if the government shuts down, it inevitably could be economic impact, and some blame could be cast on the other side of Pennsylvania Avenue too.
Yeah, it's never good for anyone, right? There's always this question about who's the winner or the loser in government shutdowns, and it's no one, right? No one is the winner in the country, and both sides of the aisle are losers. I mean, you are right. At this point, the administration, and they've done this over and over again on some of these bigger, more controversial issues, saying that it is on Republicans and Democrats in Congress to figure out how to get this done. You heard Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, over and over again in the past say that they have to do their duty, their constitutional duty on some of these issues. I don't think that's going to change. And I think that's one of the ways that they see it, as making sure they're hands off in the blame game at the end of the day.
And so far, that approach has largely worked. We will stay on it. White House correspondent for Politico and co-author of The Playbook, Eugene Daniels, thank you for being with us this morning. And thanks to all of you for getting up way too early with us on this Tuesday morning.